Yo, what is up guys, Grim here, and in today's video we're going to be covering rogue follower gear. That's right, we're going to be taking you through how to min-max your rogues so that you can open all those chests in those grand heists, as well as get maximum loot, of course. So we've covered the brooches in previous video. Of course, everyone knows you want to have that 4 or 3% regal to exalt trinket, but what about those followers? That's what everyone's been asking. How do you gear up your rogue followers after you max them all out for maximum loot? Well, let's get into what you're looking for and also how to craft it on the cheap, because people are paying some pretty crazy prices and I definitely don't think that you need to. All right, let's get into it. So the first thing you're going to want on all of your rogues, except Huck, because no one uses Huck, is a good cloak. So you're looking for a 5% reduced raising of alert level implicit cloak. These are whisper woven cloaks, and you're looking for them to be item level 83. Now the reason you're looking for them to be item level 83 is so that you can roll the modifier of silence here. You can see here it's 12% reduced raising of alert level from opening chests. This, in my opinion, is the only modifier that's really relevant on cloaks. And you can, if you want, go for a little bit of movement speed on these, but really that's not that necessary in my opinion. The only thing that you need to look for on these cloaks is that reduced raising of alert level and making sure it's a 5% implicit so that you get maximum alert reduction in those grand heists. As long as all of your followers have these cloaks, you're pretty much guaranteed to be able to open most of the chests in a grand heist, assuming that you have like a bit of alert reduction on your followers in terms of like Cast or maybe Nanette or Talina. That's going to push you over the line and let you open up all the wings without any issues at all. Just super duper good. So that's step one. So when you're in there, you're going to be able to get all those chests, but how do you maximize the loot? Well, with the recently added hotfix or the fix in general to brooches, they have been functional for a while now. So what is the change to brooches? Essentially, the modifier heists have an X% chance to duplicate a certain currency or type of loot now works. So when you're in a heist and you're doing the heist, it will basically have a straight up chance to double anything that drops in the heist. So if you drop a Regal Orb off a monster, 15% chance to double it. If you drop a Delirium Orb from a chest, 15% chance to double it. All that kind of stuff like that. A quick tip for you guys, stacked decks are considered a currency, so you will want to grab the currency one for that. So if you're doing blueprints or split blueprints or lockpicking contracts or deception or perception or anything like that, essentially the one you want to go to and go for is currency duplication. So why do you want currency duplication? Well, most of the loot from Grand Heist is currency. All of the good contracts generally are currency based as well, with those stacked decks and the raw currency dropping and lockpicking. So this is by far the most important one you want to go for, unless you're doing something a little bit obscure like demolition contracts or like agility contracts. This is all you'll need. So when you're rolling your brooches, all you want to go for is the 15% chance to drop duplicated currency, and you go for that on every single one of your guys here. And you can see that it all adds up, and it's going to give you essentially 15% more loot when you're opening those currency chests and just in general in your grand heists and heists. So that's definitely very, very insane. So when you get into blueprints though, you're able to put on 3 members per wing. And these trinkets do in fact stack additively. So it's going to add up to 45% chance for you to double your loot. So that is indeed 50% more currency drops. So these brooches are absolutely essential to you making enough money to cover your expenses in these contracts or these grand heists. And if you don't have them, you're going to be losing out on a ton of currency per hour. So you absolutely need to roll these to the tier 1 value, and if you can, even divine them to 15%. Now, those are the only 2 stats that matter on cloaks and brooches. If you want to go for another stat, like maybe I think one of mine has a chance to duplicate Legion Splinters on here. This one's got 15% chance to duplicate Catalyst. You can, but the bulk, I would say about 90 to 95% of all of the currency that comes from blueprints and all that stuff like that is currency based. Of course, with the exception of something like Demolition, but I don't think Demolition is that competitive anymore due to the fact that currency is so accessible. on these brooches, and it's very easy to stack that as opposed to stacking like Delirium Ore, Blight, Catalyst, and all these kind of different ones which are in mixed bag in these other contracts. So yep, there we go, cloaks, brooches. Now, if you really want to take things to the next level, you can also go for some equipment for your rogues. So if you're looking to do blueprints and you're trying to narrow down the amount of followers that you're using, you can indeed look for a modifier on these tools called +1 to level of all jobs. So you can see here, as I have it equipped on my cast, it levels up all of his jobs by 1. So now when I'm going in and I'm doing perception contracts, I can use cast on level 4 perception instead of level 3, which is pretty cool in my opinion. It definitely makes him a lot stronger. In addition to that, if you pay attention to this heist perks bar here, you'll notice that it goes from 40% less alert to 45%, which is pretty cool indeed. So it definitely does amp him up. Now, this is a very rare modifier. It's very heavily weighted to not appear on your items. So going for multiple of these on one item is very difficult. And at that point, you have like a mirror to your item almost, which is completely insane. So just look for +1 level of all jobs. You can buy it off another player or you can roll it yourself. But yeah, definitely a very important thing here to give you greater flexibility on your rogues, as well as give you a few more perk bonuses on your guys. So when you're going into a grand heist, that's going to allow you to put the better rogues like Vendari on more wings. You know, that's more loot multiplier on Vendari. You can see here I have +1 to level of all jobs here, and he gives a more loot multipliers. You can see it goes to 20 to 23% chance to duplicate, which is pretty cool. So that's definitely another thing you can look for there. So what about the weapon? Well, the weapon, in my opinion, is not that important. The only thing that you can get on it, in my opinion, is an aura, which is going to give your character a little bit more benefit. The best one is probably a haste aura. Everything else is kind of like a marginal upgrade and isn't going to really do too much for your character. So if we have to recap, what are you looking for on this gear? Cloaks. You want to grab alert reduction tier 1. Make sure you're close to 83. Make sure you got those implicits going. And as a little bit of an offside, you can also look for movement speed, but not needed at all. So it's going to include your clear speed a little bit. On all your brooches, go for 15% chance to duplicate currency. That's what you want. It's insane. And lastly, if you really want to push it, you can go for +1 level of all jobs on your rogues. I've only got it on Cast and Vendari as they're the main ones in my opinion to push to the next level, but you can also go for it on Nanette and Talina as they will give you a less more multiplier on the alert level as well. Everyone else is kind of like whatever. You could make a case for Gianna taking up to 35% reduced blueprint revealing cost, which could be pretty good for some people, but other than that, I don't think it's too important. So how are you going to make these things? Well, let's get into the real task of crafting these things, shall we? Alright, so what you want to do when you're crafting pretty much anything in PoE is hit up a website called Craft of Exile. So this website is absolutely incredible, and you want to go to the heist category. So let's say you wanted to craft a brooch. Well, this is going to tell you exactly the cheapest way to craft these things. So right now, Chaos Orbs are very expensive. Fossils don't work to my knowledge on these brooches, so what's going to be the cheapest way to go? It's either going to be Orbs of Alchemy or Orbs of Alteration. So right now, if you take a look at the economy, Orbs of Alteration are very expensive. They're 1 Chaos to 4. And if you look at Alchemies, they're actually 1 to 7.5. So the best way to craft these is with the Orb of Alchemy. And if we select the mod we want here, what do we want? We want a % chance to duplicate currency. So we'll go over to currency. Where is it? There it is, T1. And we can see here, on average, it's going to take 64 attempts with Alch Scours, which is 40C. So that's not too bad. You can kind of see on average how much it's going to get, or how much it's going to take. Essentially what I did is with all of these, I checked it out on Craft of Exile to see how likely it was. I got about 6 or 7 of the brooches and I put them all in a tab. I scoured them all, alched them all, scoured them all, alched them all. And what I did is I just keyed in over here. You can see I keyed in currency, and we can do a few here. We can go scour all these and then alchemy. See, we got a currency one here. Okay, this is only a T3 roll, but you get the point. You can kind of scour them all, alchemy, scour them all, alchemy. You can do the same thing for the cloaks. Exactly the same thing. If we go to the cloaks over here, we go to heist. Instead of brooches, we go to, where is it? Heist, cloaks. We can check what the alert level is here for T1. You can see here it's going to take 39 attempts or 24C to make the cloak. So you can kind of see it's pretty cheap, not too expensive to get into. And once you gear up all your rogues, you're pretty much good to go. You can do as many blueprints or contracts as you want. Do exercise some caution though when going for the equipment, as it can be quite difficult to roll. As it is a very rare roll. So that's all you guys should need to know about the good old rogue equipment. That's how to craft it on the cheap using Alchs and Scours, and it's everything you need to get your guys ready and get into those blueprints where you're gonna make tons of money. So with that, guys, hope you guys have enjoyed the video. It's been a bit of a short one, but I'll see you guys in the next one or on the stream. Cheers.